is unusual, but it's not unheard of because the state has a right to a fair trial, too. I know the Sixth Amendment applies to defendants. And in fact, the Constitution of the United States says nothing about victims. It says a lot about defendants and suspects. But the state does have also a right to have a fair trial. And that means that if there's a jury out there that cannot be fair, that is swayed by emotion, by sympathy, rather than following the evidence and the facts and the law, then you've got to find another jury. You can bring another jury from a different part of the state, or you can move the case entirely. It's not unheard of, but it is rare that it is the state seeking it, which tells you about all the information that's been out there and all the rumors and everything that people have been talking about the victim being involved in this pay for play sex ring. That's the kind of thing that could lead to what's called jury nullification, which is a prosecutor's worst nightmare, which means that the jury sees the evidence, sees the law, and disregards it because they just don't like the victim.
Right. And I think that could be a concern here. I mean, obviously the Bartleys want to keep this trial in Letcher County because of all of the, goodwill, I guess, that Sheriff Mickey Steins, he's not the sheriff anymore, but he has a lot of support in Letcher County. So they want a Letcher County and it's a small town. They don't want a Letcher County jury and it's a small town. However, the Commonwealth's like, there's just been too much media attention on this. We need to move this. But the defense is saying, this is a national story. You're not going to take the media attention away, whether you move it, to one county or another.
That's something that's changed in recent years. It used to be, before the advent of streaming and social media, that if you had a case that was a big deal in a certain jurisdiction, you can easily move it to another jurisdiction and escape all that publicity. But now we're all on the same networks. We all watch the same news from, or at least the same social media sites. And so everyone knows about everything pretty much. A case like this would be something that would be known throughout the state of Kentucky, not just that one part of eastern Kentucky. With that said, it's still different. I mean, remember in Idaho, they moved the Koberger case because even though everyone knew about it, they still felt that having a jury in that small town of Moscow, Idaho was prejudicial to the defense. Here, the state is saying that because of sympathy for the defendant, he was well liked, because of dislike of the victim, you got to move it to a different area. Even if the people in the other area know about the case, it's still not the same. They don't know the parties personally. So I think the state has a legitimate argument to at least get a jury shipped in from a different part of the state.
They may. And it sounds like, there are some rumblings down there that this is going to move. And so if you put this case in front of another jury, the defense strategy seems here, Dave, to be all about getting a manslaughter conviction rather than a murder conviction, because of the extreme emotional disturbance. That's the strategy. They've basically said that. You might be more apt to get that in Letcher County than, say, another county like Bowling Green or some other, some other area where there isn't as much known about the background of this case and what could have been potentially going on in the background, especially with the civil lawsuit about the sex for favors and things of that nature. So you may put this case in front of a jury who's like, I don't care about all of that. You literally took out a gun and shot your friend, the judge, in cold blood, and then went after him, followed him as he tried to crouch around his desk. So that's going to show whether he had some mental health issues going or not. The prosecution, the Commonwealth, is going to say that's a cold-blooded killing.
Yeah, I actually think the defense is going to try to get an acquittal because of jury nullification. I think they're going to focus on what the victim was supposedly doing and outrage at least one of the jurors, and that's all it takes for a hung jury, and you outrage them all and you get sympathy for the defendant, and then it's game over. It's an acquittal. So if you just base it on the video alone, there's enough evidence, I think, for a murder conviction there, or at least manslaughter. But you're right. I think the baseline here is to at least get a manslaughter, which means he'll see the light of day outside of a prison again, even if he's convicted. But I think they're going to go for it all. They already are in trying to dismiss the indictment altogether. But that video is so powerful that unless you engage in jury nullification, I think that video means he's going to be convicted of at least manslaughter, if not murder.
Yeah, it's really something else. This case is something, and there's something going on down there. And there was definitely something going on with Mickey Steins. So we're going to keep an eye on it.